Okay, so I just wanted to run through a trade really quickly that happened on Thursday in the European Session trade room. This was in the FTSE 100 futures. Now, the reason I want to run through it is to show you the thinking behind it, because somebody said, "Oh, that's a really great trade," and it's easy to think of something as a really good trade if it comes off a winner. I'm always trying to demonstrate to people that it's not the outcome of the trade that makes it good or not, it's the application of process and thought that goes into taking the trade and managing it. So this was the FTSE chart from the Wednesday. So this is Wednesday the 13th of August 2014, and what we have is various lines drawn in, horizontal lines, just important swing highs and lows. Now this is the high of the session up here, and in fact there was also another line that I need to draw in, a couple of lines actually, so I'm just going to draw in couple of rays because around 11:30, and you have to 11:30 Eastern time, which is 4:30 UK time, and that's the cash close. We had a price of 48.5, and you'll just have to take my word for that. And then, in fact, I'm going to differentiate that by just making that orange, and I'll make the full session close red. And this just gives us an idea of a possible turning point. Just see how the market's reacting to this area, and this is only a short-term thing, short-term reference points really. So I'm just going to keep an eye on those, as well as the high of the day, the low of the day, things like that. Okay, so what we can see is the market opened, and I like to take trades early on in the FTSE in particular because it runs really nicely. It's a good directional trade early on, or it often is anyway, and it starts at 8:05, this trade plan. So what we can see is, let me just make this even a bit bigger. You can see is straight away we've got this. It's not a session gap, so it's not gapping outside of the range, but it is opening lower, and the market still does have, generally speaking, markets have a want to close these gaps. So that's the last price of the whole session yesterday, and the last price of the cash session as well, that is likely to want to go and retest. Or if it doesn't and it moves away from that, then that's another point of reference to say, well look, it couldn't even do this, then maybe it's weak and maybe we're going to look lower. So what happened is, first off, you can see right from open we had some selling, and we sold a reasonable amount, in fairness, not massively, but a reasonable amount, and we got so far, but then buyers stepped straight back in, and because of that you're thinking, well hang on a second, if it's selling off hard and then buyers can stop it dead in its tracks and reverse it and take it through the open and back higher, then if it can pull back and then retake out that high of the session, then it's got a chance of really pushing higher. So then what we had is a setup right on the close of the full session, a jump line cross. You can see that the jump line 9, the green dotted line, actually dropped below the jump line 4, but it's still a valid setup, and I'm quite happy if to take those under the right circumstances. So the one thing here is that you could see, because it's right on that close, you need to adjust above that. So if we can pull back and then reach above this close, then there's every chance that we're going to at least go towards the close of the cash session. Now that was a little bit of a warning, because the money management was slightly the other side of that level. So to lock in, to start locking in the trade and making it safe, you would need it to get through that price by actually a point here, because it was at 49.5, and the target 2 was at the high of the prior day. So that was the caveat for the trade, and you've got to consider that if it gets to that target 2 and it pauses and it doesn't really do anything, it's worth probably taking off at least a part of the position, half of the position probably. So as we move forward, you can see it did pull back a little bit, and although it went through the stop because it hadn't triggered in and it hadn't cancelled, it was fine to still take, and this is why the calculator is still printing it. So then it took it out, and actually at this point it didn't really have the momentum to continue immediately, but it did trigger us in at 40. I took 44.5 actually, not 44. What then happened is we got a big push towards the close of the prior day session, cash session, but it didn't really stop there, so it wasn't an issue. Got to the money management and locked in at 45. I always like to lock in one tick above where I've got in, rather than the actual non-adjusted entry. So what then happened is we got through the full target very, very quickly, but it came back quite quickly as well. You can see this spike, although this is a time-based, a tick-based chart. This did actually happen quickly in real time. It was something that it kind of popped through and then pulled back, and that was the first warning to me that actually maybe there are some sellers above there, at least in the short term, and that puts my stop under threat. So if it can't then get back above the high of the prior day fairly quickly, I'm thinking that I'll probably get stopped out. And at this point I think, well, look, it's early days, early on in the session, this is a gimme, it's accelerated away from the jump line 4 is accelerated away from the jump line 9. I think it's probably worth trailing the jump line 4 if that continues. And we can see that there was a bit more of a gap developed between the pink and the green jump line 4 and jump line 9. So that's what I did, and it went a bit higher, but I was happy to continue to trail the jump line 4. Really don't want it back below the high of the prior day now, because that's saying, well, look, I've looked above this little spike in the market, and then if we can't then get above that and it falls back into the prior day's range, we're in trouble. And at this point we stopped out, still in on the jump line 9, but I've actually taken the trade off in this situation because of the decisions I made based on the activity that was going on relative to those points of reference that we've been talking about. And actually very quickly it fell back in and it stopped out. Now subsequently it didn't really do much, and later on it did go higher, but the point is that by considering various factors, regardless of the actual trade outcome, that made it a good trade. It wasn't a particularly high yielding trade, it didn't make loads and loads of ticks, but it was a good trade because of the thought that went into it. So I hope you enjoyed watching that, and have a great weekend. See you next time.